Hello, fellow book adventurers, and get ready to embark on an unforgettable quest through the realm of literature. Grab your imagination and join me as we uncover the treasures hidden within Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Your support on YouTube means everything to me. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to give them a thumbs up and hit that subscribe, follow button. And if you have any thoughts or questions, drop a comment below. I love hearing from you. Chapter 1. The Sound of the Shell. Ralph is making his way through the jungle to the beach when he is joined by a fat young man who has been called Piggy at school. Ralph does not bother to learn the boy's name, but he begins to refer to the boy as Piggy too. The two boys are survivors of a plane crash after their school was evacuated from a war zone. They make their way to a little lagoon and find a conch shell in the pond there. They decide to use it to call the other survivors to them. Ralph discovers how to blow in the shell, and he calls the others. Boys begin coming out of the woods, including a set of twins, Sam and Eric, and a group of choir boys headed by a young man named Jack Marriedwell. The boys decide they must have a leader. The choice between Jack and Ralph is offered to the boys, and Ralph is chosen leader. Jack then volunteers himself and his choir to be hunters for the group. After the meeting, Ralph, Jack, and another boy, Simon, go to explore the immediate area to be sure they are on an island, and there are no other survivors. It is a moment of great companionship for the three boys. Chapter 2. Fire on the Mountain. In Chapter 2, Ralph calls another meeting. Ralph begins to make rules that will govern the group. The first is that the person who holds the conch is the only person who can speak during a meeting. Piggy tries to speak, but the group makes fun of him and refuses to listen. Later, a child in the group with a birthmark staining one side of his face claims to have seen a beast in the jungle before the first meeting was called. This frightens most of the children, although the older children refuse to show it. Ralph then brings up the subject of rescue. Ralph suggests that they keep a fire burning at the top of the mountain so that any ships passing might see it. The boys enthusiastically begin gathering firewood, everyone working except Piggy, who has asthma. However, when they reach the mountain with their wood, Ralph admits that he does not know how they might go about lighting a fire. No one has matches. Jack suggests they use Piggy's glasses to make the fire. Piggy is unhappy with them for taking his glasses without really asking. Piggy then becomes even more annoyed when no one will listen to him about the children running wild or the fact that they have accidentally set half the jungle on fire. Piggy also points out that the one with the birthmark on his face, is missing. Chapter 3. Huts on the Beach. Jack has taken quite well to hunting, spending most days alone in the jungle with nothing but his knife. However, Ralph is struggling as the other boys refuse to help him build shelters for all of them to share. Ralph complains about this to Jack when Jack comes back from a day of hunting. Ralph also complains that Jack and his boys spend all day in the jungle, but never return with any meat. Jack assures Ralph that he is figuring out the pigs in hopes to make his first kill soon. Ralph finally gives up, especially when he sees that his only helper, Simon, has wandered off and decides to go for a swim. At the same time, Simon makes his way into the jungle to a quiet place he has discovered that he likes to visit. Chapter 4. Painted Faces and Long Hair. The boys have fallen into a routine all their own and grown accustomed to the island. The smallest children have grown frightful of the island and the unseen beast that was mentioned in an early meeting of the group. Many of them have frequent nightmares. The older boys often tease and torture the smaller boys, but there are still remnants of society that keep them from hurting one another. This is illustrated by one boy throwing rocks at another, but purposely missing him. Jack has decided that the reason he cannot kill a pig is that the pigs can see him. For this reason, Jack has decided that he and his hunters should wear clay makeup on their faces when they hunt. At the same time, Ralph is swimming with Piggy and a few others. Ralph has grown weary of some of the impractical suggestions of the others, but he has to admit that some of Piggy's suggestions are sound, such as creating a sundial. Ralph finds himself wishing he could think a little more logically, like Piggy. As they swim, Ralph suddenly sees smoke in the ocean. He knows it is a ship. However, there is no smoke from the signal fire. Ralph rushes up to the mountain, but by the time he reaches the dead fire, it is too late. Jack and the others return triumphantly from the hunt with their first kill, a pig. Ralph is too angry at them for letting the fire go out to join the celebration. Jack becomes angry and takes his frustration out on Piggy, breaking a lens out of his glasses. Eventually, everyone calms down and the pig is roasted. Piggy points out that he did not get any, so Simon gives him some even though Jack felt Piggy did not deserve any because he did nothing to earn it. Chapter 5. Beast from Water. Ralph walks alone back down to the lagoon in preparation for the meeting he has called. Ralph is thinking of the changes that need to be made and arguments to express this to the boys. However, once the meeting is called, Ralph has trouble remembering everything he had wanted to say. Piggy at first sits apart in protest to his treatment on the mountain, but he soon joins the meeting. In fact, it is Piggy who comes to Ralph's rescue when he struggles to make himself clear in the face of Jack's open contempt of the proceedings. The main subject is the idea of a dangerous beast in the jungle and the small children's fear of it. A small child comes forward and insists that there is a beast. He has seen it. Jack announces that he and his hunters will kill any beast. Therefore, it is ridiculous for anyone to be afraid. Afterwards, Ralph, Simon, and Piggy discuss the situation, talking about how different things would be if there were an adult among them. Chapter 6. Beast from Air. During the night, the twins, Eric and Sam, are supposed to be watching the signal fire, but both fall asleep. During the night, a parachute with the pilot still attached drifts onto the mountain. The body moves with the wind and the movement of the parachute. When the boys wake, they see the movement. They think it is a beast. They run down to the camp for help. An impromptu meeting erupts, and it is decided they should go find the beast and kill it. However, instead of going up to the mountain, they decide to go to the far side of the island where Jack thinks the beast might live. Ralph allows Jack to lead the way because of his hunting skills. When they reach the rock formation on the far side of the island that resembles a castle, Ralph takes the lead because he believes that is his role as leader. Jack follows. However, they find nothing at the castle. The group turns back to check out the mountaintop. No one is in a hurry. Ralph is annoyed when he tells them they must hurry because there is no fire, but no one answers him. Chapter 7. Shadows and Tall Trees. The group stops to eat on the way back to the mountain. Ralph picks a route back that he thinks might be quicker. As they walk, one of the hunters finds fresh evidence of pigs. Jack decides they should hunt as they walk. Ralph finds himself daydreaming as he walks until he hears the call of the hunters. They have found a group of pigs. The pigs get away, but the excited hunters surround one of the boys and begin teasing and beating him. They move on. As darkness approaches, Ralph and Jack argue over whether they should go back to camp or go up on the mountain. Jack accuses Ralph of being frightened when they reach the mountain, and Ralph hesitates to continue to where the beast was spotted. However, Jack is just as frightened when they see the object bowing in front of them. Chapter 8. Gift for the Darkness. Ralph and the others return to camp and announce that there really is a beast on the mountain. Ralph insults the hunters, so Jack calls a meeting. Ralph tries to keep Jack from running the meeting, but he quickly backs down. Jack announces that he no longer wants to live with Ralph's cowardice. He is going to go off and begin his own group. Jack invites any who want to join him to do so. Ralph tries to stop him, but Jack will not listen. Piggy tries to reassure Ralph, but Ralph does not listen. Simon suggests to Piggy that they climb the mountain and check out the beast in the daylight. Piggy refuses. Piggy suggests that they look to the future and restructure things. First, Piggy suggests they start a new signal fire near the lagoon where it will be easier to tend. Ralph quickly agrees. They send those who remain, mostly the smallest children, to collect wood. Ralph becomes upset when he realizes how many have deserted them and have gone to be with Jack, but Piggy continues to try to reassure him. On the other side of the island, Jack gathers his followers around them and tells them that they will spend their days hunting and not to worry about the beast. To celebrate their new group, they track and chase down a sow. The boys circle around the sow and kill it savagely. However, when they get the sow back to their camp, they realize they have no way to make a fire. Jack decides he will go to Ralph's camp and invite the other boys to a feast. While there, he will distract Ralph and the others, while some of his followers steal fire from their signal fire. Most of the boys in Ralph's camp decide to go to Jack's for the feast, but Ralph insists that he and Piggy remain behind to tend the fire. Chapter 9. A View to a Death. After waking from his spell, Simon makes his way back to the mountain so that he might see what the beast really is. When Simon arrives, he realizes that the beast is the dead body of the pilot from their plane, still attached to his parachute. Ralph and Piggy decide to join Jack's party just to make sure the others are okay. When they arrive, they find a wild party. The boys are laughing, dancing, and running wild. When Jack spots Ralph, he has one of the boys take him and Piggy meet. As everyone eats, Jack stands and asks who will join his tribe. Ralph tries to argue, but Jack points out that Ralph has no problem eating the meat he has caught. Ralph criticizes Jack's lack of preparation and shelter. Jack ignores him and calls his tribe together to dance. As they dance, Simon comes down from the mountain. They mistake him for the beast. The boys beat and torture Simon until he lies dead on the sand, his body taken away by the waves. Chapter 10. The Shell and the Glasses. Ralph and Piggy discuss the dwindling of their group. Only Sam and Eric remain of the big kids as well as most of the smaller kids. They also discuss the feast and what happened to Simon. Ralph feels guilty because he joined in on the beating without really understanding what was happening. Piggy does not like taking about it and keeps telling Ralph to stop. The boys of Jack's tribe are fixing up the castle for a fort and playing around. Jack has begun enforcing some of his rules. Jack is much more ruthless than Ralph, beating some of the boys for infractions that he does not feel inclined to explain to anyone. These boys also talk about the beating of Simon, but they laid the blame on Simon himself rather than themselves for Simon's death. Ralph, Piggy, Sam, and Eric argue about whether someone should stay up nights and keep the fire going. Ralph keeps repeating how important it is, but it is finally decided that there are not enough boys to keep it going 24 hours a day. When they go to bed that night, Ralph continues to talk about the importance of being rescued. Ralph really believes that this is the only way they will survive. During the night, Jack and some of his tribe come into the shelter where Ralph, Piggy, Sam, and Eric sleep. A fight breaks out in the dark. Ralph finds himself fighting someone he cannot see, and he gets the better of the boy for a time until the other boy kicks him in the groin. By the time Ralph recovers, the infiltrators are gone, and Piggy's glasses are missing. Chapter 11. Castle Rot. Ralph decides he cannot let Jack get away with this latest insult. For this reason, he leads Piggy, Eric, and Sam to the fort where Jack and his tribe are staying. When they arrive, Ralph is confronted by several sentries. These boys tell Ralph that he is not welcome in their fort. Jack arrives as Ralph is accusing the sentries of being thieves. Ralph and Jack begin to argue. As they do, Jack's men take Sam and Eric and tie them up. Above them, some boys loosen a rock. Ralph can see the rock is going to fall and is able to move out of the way. However, since Piggy's glasses are missing, Piggy does not see it coming. The rock hits Piggy and causes him and the conch to fall off the cliff and onto the beach below. Piggy's body is also washed out to sea like Simon's. Ralph runs away. Chapter 12. Cry of the Hunter. Ralph has spent most of the day hiding, wounded, in a covert. When it is dark, Ralph makes his way back toward Castle Rock. When he arrives, he discovers that Sam and Eric are standing guard. Ralph talks to the twins for a few minutes and learns that Jack plans to hunt him the following day. Ralph tells Sam and Eric that he plans to hide nearby, hoping that Jack and his boys would not look for him so close. Ralph goes and lies down in some ferns near the Castle Rock. Ralph goes to sleep and is awoken the next morning as the hunt begins. Ralph lies still and waits for the boys to go past him. However, he soon hears Jack talking to Sam and Eric and the twin giving away his location. Ralph runs and manages to get a head start on the hunters. Ralph finds another place to hide and manages to stay there for a long time, but is soon found by another of the hunters. In the meantime, the hunters have begun a fire that they hope will smoke Ralph out. The fire is large and is burning a large portion of the jungle, including where they get the majority of their fruit. Ralph is forced to run out of his hiding place when one of the hunters gets too close. Ralph makes a run for the beach near his own camp. Ralph can hear the hunters behind him and knows that he is not going to survive. However, when he arrives at the beach, Ralph is shocked to discover that rescue has arrived. The sailor tells him that they saw the fire in the jungle from sea and came to help. The sailor mistakenly thinks the children are playing a harmless game of war,